responded to that guy because he responded to you and me. And I started responding, and the wife started talking to me, so I ended up not responding. But I was like, man, it's like, as a homeowner, I guess you're doing whatever the fuck you think is the right thing. But I feel bad for the contractors who are so desperate that they have to respond to you and bow down to whatever the hell he's offering.
Yeah, and I mean, so are you talking about the guy who made that post? That Tyler guy?
Yeah. So anyway, let's get it live, kicking it off. All right, here we go. Here it is. Broadcast number 2, June the 30th, Tuesday. Yesterday was Memorial Day. Hope you guys had a great day in here with Anthony James, myself, Brian Adams. I don't even know what we're calling this. Dominate Your Life, B&A, keeping it real, talking shit. I really wanted to call it Man the Fuck Up. I don't know. We're gonna run a contest to see who comes up with a name for the broadcast.
That's a great idea. What's the prize for the winner?
Shit, I don't know. A guest speaker in the broadcast.
They can get a Sunshine Design and Build pin.
There you go. As long as it works, man. Where's like because a buddy of mine had these up, man, and they feel great. They're all cushiony, but they don't write for shit. The ink either runs out or dries up.
Oh, really?
It pisses me off. I'm like, damn, that's not a good look for the business.
We just got some made that it's not this one, but they're really big, but they write really nice.
Yeah, so good. Hey, so let's dive into it. So last week when we were doing the podcast, and I think it's someone that you know, and I only say that because it was an Idaho person, I think, but was asking about how do you go about securing funds to start up your business. And by securing funds, I take that as meaning, how do I get a loan to start a business? And then I didn't respond directly to that. I just responded in a whole different group. But I tagged you and I tagged my buddy Brian Pappenberg, who owns probably like 13 or 14 supercuts right now.
Right.
And so my whole gig was, I'm not a fan of getting loans almost for anything, but definitely not for starting a business that you're probably going to fail at.
Sure.
80% chance. I mean, and if you're looking to get a loan, that already says you're starting off on the wrong foot. So if you buy it like Brian bought into Supercut. So I mean, if you buy into any franchise where it's, Subway used to be like the number one franchise that people bought into until that whole Jared BS. But I mean, on average, it's like 75 grand. They want you to have another 100 grand in the bank savings because they know you're going to need money as you go through the next couple of years. It's just, so they're not just taking any old body. And they're definitely not going to let you go get a loan to go jump into a business. It's kind of like, I can't go get a loan to have a down payment for a house because the bank's going to go, well, where the hell did you get the down payment? You couldn't even save that up. How are you going to be able to make these payments for the next 30 years? And how are you going to pay that loan back that you just got? I mean, so there's a whole, but in all of America, we overspend. And I'm speaking from experience because shit, even today, it's I got to, watch myself. If I'm making $100, I'm spending 130 or 140. And I'm pretty sure that's like 99% of the population. But you said you had a whole different take on it. So I was looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that it's completely a different take. I would say that it's like, I would agree with you that like, if you're just starting out in business and you've never had a business before, you have no business plan, you have no business model, you have no anything other than I got a truck and some tools who will loan me some money. That's a really bad idea. But I kind of look at it like this, like, one of the things that I really have to kind of think about, like, why did I start my company? You know what I mean? Like, what is my goal with my company? What am I trying to do with it? Am I just trying to generate enough money to pay my bills and have a little left over at the end of the day? Or am I trying to own a business that generates revenue, works better without me? Or what am I really doing? What I've decided to do with my company is that latter part, but a little further, right? So, if you take out, if you take out money and you borrow money to buy real estate, the real estate has what's called equity in it, right? It's got a perceived value. And that value is going to increase given on market variables, right?
Yeah.
And so if you identify a piece of property and you you have a business plan to increase its NOI or its net operating income, meaning the amount of money that it draws in monthly or quarterly or annually, then you can utilize that property. You can borrow money to purchase that property, which essentially is a business, and you can increase the revenue that it's creating. And then you can go back and get it assessed by the bank, and then you can get a loan based on that assessment. If that assessment is more, let's say you purchased the property for $1 million, you increase the net operating income, and you go back to the bank and have it appraised, and it appraises at 1.8, and you're like, great, how much will you loan me on it? Well, the bank says, well, we'll loan you 1.2.
Yeah.
You just made 0.2 in profit that is actually tax free. And that essentially is what you can do with a company as well. And that's what I would say. I mean, if you're going into business and you don't have a business plan, and all you've got is, a wing and a prayer and a truck and a hammer, you should not be borrowing money.
A wish and a dream. No.
Right.
And I wish people would get their business to where you're talking about, to where it is something valuable, something that you could sell, something that you could borrow against, because you've got a history of bringing in so much profit every quarter. And you've done that 3 years in a row, 5 years in a row, 9 years in a row. And every year it's that profit each quarter has been growing by 3%, 6% by something, because now you have something. And that's what you're able to sell. That's what you're able to get loans on. But man, to start out, borrowing money from friends because I need a truck and I'm going to do this and I'm going to get a power washer. And I see these guys on Facebook and these Facebook groups, and they're making a lot of money power washing houses or doing whatever. And I'm like, dude, you're going to end up like it's like you never loaning money to friends. You're giving it to them, because if you think you're getting it back, you were the fool and you didn't deserve it anyway. But it's but like you said, it's like the business plan. And I don't know, I don't think any of us, especially in construction, sits down and writes out a full-on business plan. I may have did something close to that only because of going through so many different business seminars and Anthony Robbins seminars and Zig Ziglar seminars and Brian Tracy seminars and all of them, Augmandino, and so you're writing it all down, and most of the time it starts off of as a dream or a wish list. It doesn't become a business plan until because you're writing down those big goals. I want this many employees, this many trucks. I want to be able to bring in this much money, yada yada yada. So now it's just a goal and a dream, not even a goal. It becomes a goal, I guess, when you start writing out how you're going to get there, what steps you're going to take every day to achieve it, and it ain't by borrowing money in the beginning. Because if you can't work right now at a job and save money to start it, at least, if someone came to me and said, man, I worked my ass off for the last 3 years. I've saved up $35,000, blah, 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 in cash. I need another 10 to do this, or 15. At least you got something to show. But most people don't even have $1,000 in the bank, and they're trying to borrow money to start a business that ain't ever going to get anywhere. And that's the hard truth. I mean, it's like, call it Mr. Negative or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but that's the realism.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be one thing. So like you said, like I definitely don't advocate just borrowing money because, hey, I've got an LLC that I just started yesterday. Who's going to loan me money? The object is to not borrow money, but to make money. And it's kind of like anything. It's like, what creates the value, what creates the equity in your business, right? Is it just your profits that you're creating over and over again? Maybe, but ultimately what creates that is your systems and your processes and your business model. And so that's one of the reasons, like I don't want to compare what I do or what anybody else does to McDonald's, but if you look at McDonald's as an example, right, you can literally take their system and drop it down in Timbuktu, and illiterate monkeys are going to be able to recreate the same exact hamburger that you get in Boise, Idaho, or Anaheim, California.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's like Roberto here, he says, that's my aim to sell. And that's great. And I mean, I look at it as two different things. Like, there's two different philosophies. I'm looking at my business like a piece of real estate, right? And I'm trying to gain value in my real estate, in my piece of property that I can either sell or borrow against, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
And so there's two ways that you can, create, generate revenue in this country, in this economy. And that's by capital gains, or it's by infinite return, right? And so the way our economy is set up, our economy is debt based. And basically what happens is if you create something of value and sell it, you just created a taxable event.
Yeah.
Right? But if you create something of value and borrow against it, and you borrow for more than it's worth or what you have into it, you just generated revenue that is non-taxable.
Yeah.
And you can use that to invest in more non-taxable endeavors. Right?
Yeah. And that's when you need a good accountant, because it's like, some people had responded back and forth. Should I buy a new truck? Should I use this, my own money? And that just depends on where you're at in life and in business. My daughter bought some equipment last year, and we could have paid it cash, but the interest was like less than 3%. And I'm like, shit, that's free money. I can make more money, investing my money somewhere else. And then that's the whole thing too, is like, if you're invested in Wall Street or invested in anything, I don't know, I go back and forth with that. It's like, man, invest in your own company first, because your company is what other people should be investing in. Your accountant is going to know especially if you already own a lot of the equipment because you worked for someone and you were buying it throughout the years. You're able to lease that to your company and buy, from yourself, rent it. A whole bunch of stuff. But you talk about McDonald's, the systems. That's what changed my world. Was sitting in I think it was like 1988. I'm sitting at an all-day seminar, one of those where Zig were at. Everybody, it's like a whole bunch of. They're called platform speakers. They show up for free because they know they're going to make so much money in the back of the room table sales. And the last speaker of the day, because the guys that I all went with, they went home after lunch because all the main speakers were already finished and gone. And I'm like, dude, man, I'm staying here all day. I'm addicted to this stuff. And the very last speaker was Michael Gerber with the E-Myth. And he looked kind of like freaking Colonel Sanders walking on stage. But man, every freaking word he said, I related to, because that's what I was doing, trying to run everything myself, not having a clue. And he's talking about, like you said, this billion dollar company, McDonald's, being ran by freaking 14 and 15-year-olds, getting a note signed by their parents that they could, get a job at that age. and here I am thinking, it's like, it's kids are running that, and you don't think someone could help you run your business. So that changed everything, that whole thought process. It's still one of the better books out there on putting systems together to run any business, let alone construction. But hey, tell me this though, because I know whatever it was, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. But you're just installing Windows, barely making it to where now you're opening locations, Washington State, Oregon, Nevada. I don't know. Did you sit down and write out the business plan word for word, or did you have the vision of what you wanted it to be? Because I know, like me, several times I know you wanted to give up and just throw it all in and just say, what the fuck? there's got to be a better way. But everyone watching this podcast, we're all the same. It's like, we can't work for somebody. So, what changed? What snapped? Did tell us?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I did. Was I sat down and I wrote out the vision that I had for it in as much detail as I could possibly, conjure up. And then, I asked myself what I really wanted, what I was willing to, sacrifice or give in order to achieve it. I put timelines on shit. I got really specific with it. And then, ultimately what that did was led me into, it's like, okay, well, I got a construction company. I can't just, can't just be non-specific about the actions that I take. Right. And so even like right now, it's like, I've got, in my employee handbook, I've got, specifics on, standard operating procedures. I have standard operating procedures for how we operate as a company. I have, when you start working with me, you sign a piece of paper that says these are your responsibilities and this is how you operate within this company. And it says like, hey, you understand that, and even with my clients and my contracts are ultimately the heartbeat of my business model. And even today, even to this very day, there's, I'm always adjusting and improving and making things more and more refined. And that's ultimately what has made the difference for me is ultimately getting it down on paper and being just hyper specific about it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, if it ain't on paper, it's not real. I mean, you can sit around with your buddies and just talk all kind of shit, but it's something about writing it down. And I don't know, maybe you can type it down and it's the same. Maybe because I'm old, it doesn't work for me that way. But man, when I have the pen and paper and I'm writing it down, something, it's like, it's a direct line to the subconscious mind. It's no longer you just wish list talking about it. Now that it's tangible, it's on this piece of paper. It's like, what do I got to do to make this happen? What do I got to do to make this work? And what is your big vision for Sunshine Design and Build?
I will never tell. I'll never tell. No, ultimately, like I was saying, the vision for me is ultimately to see how far I can actually take it. Like right now, like you're saying, we're moving into, we're already in Oregon. We got some opportunities in Washington, and then I'm probably the only Idahoan actually trying to move into California. And I've got some clients that, just are, they got properties around these areas and, they want somebody they can trust to work on them. And we've got our foot in the door there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like I said, man, my goal for my company is to build a company that is more valuable in its equity than the revenue that it generates.
Yeah.
Right? So that I can borrow against it.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, since he wants to pick our minds about the finance, how did you get started? Hey, Brian, what is your trade? Are you a general contractor? What do you, windows, painting? What do you do, Brian?
So
do you know him? Do you know Brian?
I know Brian. Brian specializes in metal structures. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a little of everything, but I think last time we spoke, he said that he really iron worker by trade.
And what do you
want? Brian, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, what company do you want to start? Do you want to start an iron workers guild, or like, what do you want to do?
And for me, it's man, like Doug here saying yes, because Doug's got a shitload of money or in tied up in tools, like a lot. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck good is all those tools sitting in the garage? They ain't bringing in any money. It's like sell the fucking tools and buy ad space on Google or anywhere, something. But none of the tools do you any good if it's not bringing in money. But that is where you start. I mean, you do need the tools. You do, and that's where most people, when they starting off in business, and it's all business. It ain't just construction, man, because I'll get phone calls all the time from like haircutting salons, dance studios, anything. And they've put all their money into making their dance studio or karate studio look beautiful. And they've done this and they've got the mats and they've spent 40 grand. And I'm like, all right, what was your marketing budget? It was like, I'm out of money. I'm like, now you're out of business. So you should have spent $2 grand on the shit that you thought was necessary and 38 grand on all of the marketing for the next 6 months and just like dominate, just like be show, everywhere. I mean, everything, but it's just, if the phone's not ringing, if you don't have business, you don't have a business. And yes, as you grow and you've got the internet presence and the videos and the this and the that, people like, then I can turn down the marketing budget. And I'm like, yeah, like McDonald's, right? McDonald's dominates the world. They still spend more money on marketing than any other fast food chain. So why don't they dial it back a little bit? It's like, no, you never get to fucking dial it back. Sorry. It's you've got to stay number one in whatever it is that you do. But it does. It's like what I had wrote was just suck it up, and for the next 3 to 5 years, live on 20% of what you earn. Everybody's like, oh my God, save 80%. It's like, no, I can't do that. It's like, yeah, you can. Other people do it. Yeah. And they don't do it because they want to. They do it because they have to, because they only make 20% of what you make or I make or something. It's just, we've got a personal problem, not financial problem, to where it's save every penny you can and go through the numbers, like how much you're going to need to save up, all of it. Look at different franchises and what they are charging you to buy into, and what do you get to buy into that for, all of it. But yeah, like, people who say use other people's money to make money, man, that's a beautiful cliche, but what the fuck does it mean? Because nobody I know is giving you money unless you can prove that you know how to spend money, save money, make money, earn money.
That's the only way I would say that, would be advisable to, like, use or borrow money. Like, if you have an idea that is really mapped out, specific, a business model that is like airtight, written down to where you can convey it to somebody else and actually get that person to believe in what your vision is for that company, then yeah, like, maybe seek out some investors, maybe go to a bank and say, hey, this is the business model and this is what I need to get to this point. But you have to have a projected, outcome for that. You can't just say, I've got a truck and a hammer, somebody give me some money. I mean, ultimately, I think the core of what Brian's asking is, how did we get started? I mean, we got started just like you, man. It sucked.
Yeah,
it sucked for a long time.
For me,
really bad.
Yeah. I mean, I like to move on. So for me, it sucked really bad because I started by accident because I was a dick. Nobody wanted to work with me anymore. It's like, fuck, I knew everything. And I started doing side jobs on the weekend, and I'm making more money on a weekend than I would make almost all fucking month working for somebody. So now your head's like, oh my God, man, I can make do one job a week and I can make more money than these dudes, man. And there you have it. Now you don't even have a fucking job. And the only jobs you were doing on the weekend were a couple of friends and some buddies that knew you, and that whole word of mouth bullshit, to where you didn't do a job last week or the week after, and now you don't have another, and the money goes, like, you spend it like it's fucking water. And now you're trying to figure out what the hell. And now you eat crow. You go back and you tell your other guys that you used to work for, you're sorry. You changed your attitude. You learned your lesson. Let me get a job. Can you give me a job? And some of them say yes. Some of them say no. And then you do it all over again a couple of times. And then you read the couple of books. And nowadays, man, with the internet, there's just no fucking reason not to educate yourself. I had the cassette tapes and, the book with the E-Myth and some other ones. But and even that, as dumb as I was, I didn't understand what I was really reading. And it was just trial and error. But I had a wife and kids that needed to eat, and all of us. I just, we were talking earlier, I want to name this fucking podcast, Man the Fuck Up. Just it's like I had to get up every day and just go to work and just slowly fucking figure it out. And it was hard. It's real hard.
Well, I think the other thing too, man, is it's like, I used to, going back, like you said, going back five years, like if I were to go back in time and 5 years and be able to look ahead and see where I'm at now, I 5 years ago, I would have given my left fucking nut to be where I'm at today. But the truth is, though, just think about it. It's like some of these guys, when you're starting out, you got a job for, let's say the job is for, $8,000, and, it's like you've got a draw payment that's coming in for $3,020, and the client doesn't understand, the contract, and then they're balking, and you got this problem where you have to, deal with people who are sometimes not fun to deal with, and you're stressing because you got a draw payment of $3,020 so that you can buy the materials, so that you can pay your bills, so that you can put gas in the truck. And here I am. I had those same problems 5 years ago at $3,020, right? Right now I got a job where I got this client, man, and they're like, that payment's $320,000, right? And so it's like, you know, you're looking at me and you're thinking, man, I want to be where you're at. Where did you start? Well, look, man, I mean, I got the same problems with you as it's just my problems got more zeros on the end of them. And that's it. I mean, it's really it. It's the same shit, different day, more money.
Yeah.
You
know? I'm trying to flip to the book here. How do you start? Because in the book, Master Your Business, you know, when it says, where do we start? It's like, I say, man, start by being the best employee you can and appreciating the fact that someone's giving you a job. Be the employee to that person that you hope you can hire one day, and save every penny you can for 3 to 5 years. Stop thinking of instant fucking gratification. Think in increments of 5, 10, 15, 20 years of where you're going to be. Like right now, Anthony, I know it took you a good solid 5 years to get where you're at right now, and the first 4 years felt like going backwards. I'm sure to where now you feel like you got a little breathing room, but you really don't. You got just enough room to hang yourself. So it never changes. It's always every day trying to be a little bit better. But it really does is, and that's why I've given like now is like. Because I love construction and what it did for me. There's no way in my wildest ever dream I would have thought, you know, I would be able to have the life that I've had right now growing up as, you know, poor white trash in North Carolina picking tobacco. My biggest dream was, man, if I could ever make $6 or $7 an hour, man, I'd be able to rent a 2-bedroom trailer and like, and I mean, I guess I've had a great life compared to the average person, but it's no means like fucking Bill Gates or any of these, you know, multi-millionaires, but it's been pretty fucking good. And construction, man, can make it really good. Cause we can make a lot of money, relatively simple if you do, you know, some basic things, but it really is like taking 2 to 3, 4, 5 years and just personally being able to work your own finance. No, you know, like, and when people ask me how to lose weight, I say it doesn't go in your mouth till it goes in your book. Again, if it's not written down, it's not real. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, man, before you put that donut in your mouth, write it down. Write down, I'm getting ready to eat a donut and it's this many calories, and this is the time of day that it is. Boo, boo, boo. So the same way with finances, you don't spend a fucking penny until you wrote it down in the book first. The reason they give you that debit card or chips at the casino is because it's a lot easier to spend chips and use credit cards than it is real hard earned fucking cash. When you're handing over cash or gold bullion, you think twice, like, damn, do I really need this? But when it doesn't hurt a little bit and you're giving them a credit card or some fake ass chips or something, it's a lot easier to spend it. So when you can financially, personally know where every penny is going. And if you came to me with like that, because I'm not going to just give someone money. A bank ain't going to give someone money unless you can really show that, hey, I've done this, this, and this. I've saved up this. I've paid off these. I got some good credit. Here's why I've got good credit. I'm working this. And I know that I would do this, you know, all of that shit, like you're saying with the business plan. But if you can't do it for yourself for the first couple of years, there's no way you're going to be able to do it for a business, because that's the main thing, is knowing your numbers in business. Is like, how do you know what to charge? How do you know what to bid? How do you know how you can pay your guys, be able to pay your guys more than your competition? All of that shit that we talk about. It starts with you personally, first of all. And no one wants to hear that shit. And unfortunately, that's the real part. Anything before go ahead.
Well, I was just looking at Brian's question, and it makes me think about something. And I don't know, would you consider an SBA loan? I've got $200K on the books currently in a 3-month duration for 2 guys. And what I may be way off, but when I read that, I'm thinking that, you know, you're trying to take a loan to fund this project and keep your payroll up and running. And I don't know if I'm answering the question that you're not asking, but I've seen, you know, multiple like companies and SBA loans and other companies that are, you know, loan institutions that they advertise, hey, do you need funding to fund this project?
I get them all the time.
Wait a minute. Like, so ultimately, I mean, I would never do a project that my client isn't funding, right?
Yeah.
So when, like, for example, if my client doesn't pay me this $320,000 by the 5th, we stop working, right? Because it's their responsibility to fund their project, not mine. I'm not a
Mhm.
lender. I'm a contractor, right? And so they have to fund that project. The client does, not you. I mean, I would say, man, I mean, if you're already in business and you've been in business for a while and you're trying to make moves and you're trying to expand and, maybe an SBA loan might be right for you. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'd have to look at your books and ultimately I wouldn't have time to do that anyways. But there's times where an SBA loan, to help you get to a certain place that, get through a glass ceiling or something. But I would definitely never take a loan to fund a client's project. That's just asking to get screwed.
Yeah, the only time I like taking loans is when if I need if I got 100 grand sitting in the savings of the business account and I need 60 grand and I can get a 2% or 3% loan, to me, that's if it's under 4% interest, that's free money to me because I can take this money and use it for something else, buy something that's going to give me a higher 8%, 10%, 12% return. So I'm able to use their money to make money. But I'm only borrowing it because I don't want to use my money. I'm not borrowing it because I need it. So that's a lot of it. And if like I got the video on the YouTube channel, like how to grow a business debt free, but it's, man, if $1,000 comes in, 500 of that belongs to the business. All of it is like, it's just every penny that comes in belongs to the business, and the business pays out you, and you should be the cheapest employee you have working and get by on as little as possible. And then you're paying everything else. But each week the business just gets fat cash happy. Every week it's growing and growing and growing. That book, Payment First or whatever the hell the name of it is, someone to know. I mean, I've read it, and it was okay.
We're talking about Profit First or something.
Profit First. Yeah, and it's a good book, but I don't like it because he doesn't give credit to The Richest Man in Babylon, and it's all that principle. So don't tell me
pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first. That's it. So the business pays the business first, man. Everything belongs to the business, and I didn't do that. I mean, so I'm telling you, everything I teach, I learned from experiences because I'm telling you, $100 came in, I spent 120. And it was just, it got checks and deposits and all this other shit. And then you needed to get another deposit because you needed to pay the dudes for this because that other money was gone somewhere. It's like, man, just always chasing the 8 ball behind the 8 ball. And you make bad decisions when you're broke. You accept jobs that you shouldn't because you're sitting there, you're getting all the red flags. It's an asshole customer. It's this, it's that. They want to come down on the price, and you're like, oh my God, well, I have to make it up somewhere. And then you're in the middle of it and you can't make it. I mean, it's just bad decisions come from being broke. It's just, it's not, man. I'm telling you. But when the company is cash fat happy and you're sitting there with not needing and you're able to tell the customer, no, man, I don't even need that fucking, are you kidding me? I don't need this job. I'm doing you a favor by even answering questions right now. That's where you need the company to be, no matter how big it gets.
And that's the thing right there, man. A lot of clients do, or I should call them prospects, because until they actually put money in your hand, they are not clients. Right. And that's a huge distinction that I see not made on a regular basis. But I got attitude of people calling me up. It's like, oh, well, I mean, I've got this job, like in the contractor group.
Yeah. So that takes us right into, yeah, go ahead. That takes us right into
$5,000 worth of work. But if you do it for $1,000, I got more work down the line. And it's like, basically it's like this mentality of, hey, so it sounds like if I give you a really great deal now, so it's basically, so if you let me give you a great deal now, you'll really let me stick it to you later. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
But I did that. Like in the beginning, you're like, you're looking for work anywhere, but you got these contractors, because I'm a subcontractor. You get these decorators, interior designers, and it's like, oh man, we do a lot of work. And I did like 1 or 2 or 3 in the beginning. Then I realized what the fuck was really going on. And now it's like, no, you're going to pay the regular price, and then all that other work, I'm going to give you a percentage of it. So you're going to make more than me in the long run. What? Oh, you don't want to do that? Yeah, me neither. Yeah. So,
but I think that's why it's so key that, I think, you've really got to start marketing, and you got to start doing it soon, whether it's organically in a Facebook group or on, or even just boosting a post on Facebook, something. You got to get something going out there, and something that brings in phone calls. Yeah. And because if something that generates enough leads that you can pick and choose between, if you're getting 3 to 5 leads a day, you can pick and choose from, 20 to 25 leads a week instead of,
Yeah.
Oh shit, my phone rang once this week and the guy was only willing to pay me a third of what the job should actually take.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, so that kind of takes us to like a post that we were both kind of looking at last week, where a client was, like you said, trying to get $5,000 worth of work done for 1,000. And people ask me all the time. I got a contractor that I'm thinking about working with. I don't know. But he had all the stories. Oh man, it's like in my trade, kind of like, I know you have to deal with it in your trade too, is, man, there's a lot of over the border guys, Mexicans, and they're trying to take the work. And then there's the guys that ain't licensed and they're not insured. And man, they're just choking me to death, man. I can't get no jobs because of these guys are always doing it real cheap. And then you got, like, that guy was posting wanting, like you said, $5,000 worth of work done for 1,000. And fucking 50 guys are reaching out to him. I'm like, man, why are you so hard up and desperate that you would even give this guy an answer? I mean, because he's going to go with the lowest. That's not your fucking clientele. You've got to work your way out of that. What do you say? What do you say to that one? Because I know you hear it all the time. Oh man, they're coming over here from Brazil. Go ahead.
Yeah, my real quick quib, my comeback on that is that if that's your competition, you got bigger problems than your competition.
Yes.
So, and Roberto, he says, I've got projects scheduled tentatively through the first week of August. And that's great, bro. And I'm not going to knock you. I think, like, congratulations. I think that's kick ass. Right. But ultimately I'm going to look at that and I'm be like, I see that all the time. And you guys wear that as a badge of honor, right? It's like, I'm booked out till next year. Sounds like you need to get out of your comfort zone and expand your company.
Well, especially if it's a subcontractor, like a painter or a hardwood floor guy, something, because like our projects are 3 days, 3 weeks at the fucking most. And when guys tell me that they're booked up for 3 to 6 months, I'm like, why? How? That means you're charging way too fucking low. It's like, if they're saying yes every time, it's like you should be raising your prices 20%, 30%, 50% to where they're saying no. Like, there's no way I would let.
That's how you expand the company.
Yeah, there's no way I let my daughter be booked up for a year. I'm like, what the fuck? Materials going up. This is going up. That's going up. It's like, if that many people are saying yes, we're way too fucking cheap. We're way too fucking cheap. During COVID, oh my God, we raised the prices almost 60 fucking %. And like every month we would like add another 50 cents, add another 66. It was like, and everybody saying, okay. To where now we're like, oh shit, to where we're almost thinking, should we bring it back down a little bit? And I was like, if once we get enough no's, then we'll, contemplate bringing it back down. But right now, everybody's still saying, okay, most of the time. Most people, oh my God, so-and-so is like, yeah, like you said, that's not our clientele. But there's no way I would let her be booked up that far in advance, because that would only mean that, too many, our numbers ain't high enough. They've got to be saying no. And they want us bad because of all the shit that we have on the internet, how we dominate. We should be charging way more. But I want to tell you this. Oh my God, look, watch the spin that I put on this. So right now, Wall Street Journal just wrote an article a day ago, maybe 2 days ago at the most, but it's more high school graduates are saying no to college and looking to join the blue collar trades because they're hearing a plumber can make pretty good, flooring contractor can make pretty good, guy painting. So I'm telling you right now, you think it's hard competing with the guy with no license and no insurance working out of the back of his Pinto or down at Home Depot over the border? You think it's hard competing with those guys? Wait till a couple of these guys with a halfway education or a halfway brain gets into the industry and knows the business part of it. You think it's hard to compete with guys who don't know shit about business? Wait till you start having to compete with guys who know business. Right, Anthony? I'm telling you, man, it's like people are understanding that college isn't worth the money, and they're looking at someone like me who didn't even fucking get to the 9th grade going, shit, this dude's bringing in over 300 grand profit a year. What is like, and all of it is like, so and these guys, some of them are going to come up who probably should go to college. Not really, but they've got a brain, and they're thinking a lot higher than just how do I hammer in now? They're thinking business.
Yeah.
They're thinking learn a trade. They're thinking, let me turn this into something. Let me dominate this. Let me watch Anthony's videos. Let me watch Brian's videos. Let me get this book. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can make money at this. How do I hire these other guys who just want to do the labor part? Man, that's what I'm looking for anyway. And so you think it's hard competing against guys who don't have on the bottom
don't
of the
know what
barrel?
they're doing.
Yeah, wait till you start dealing and competing against guys who understand the business and the trade. Then you're really going to be crying the blues, wondering how to figure it all out. And there's no reason you shouldn't be figuring it out.
So Douglas here, he's kind of asking a two-sided question here. It's out of the side of his mouth. And I don't mean to give you shit, Douglas, but I got to call you out on this one. Because you're saying, if you're saying with one breath that's you get one call every other month. I'm sure you get more than that, but obviously the point is you're not getting enough calls to where you can pick and choose your leads. But then you're asking, well, should I lower my price if everyone is saying no, right? So no, you can't really lower your price if you're only getting one call every month. You can't really lower your price. But what you need to do is you need to figure out a way to get more than one call. And that should be your main focus over the price that you're charging. And I mean, ultimately, you got to figure out a way to get past the, whenever clients call you, I mean, their first question is how much, how cheap, right? And it's like, if you're not able to field that or navigate that before they even call you, or even once they do call you, if you're not able to provide some sort of value, it's like the price of what you're charging for, whatever it is, the price is only a discussion in the absence of value. So you need to figure out a way to provide more value for what you're asking for. And I don't know what you do, Douglas, but I mean, ultimately, if you're getting one call a month and you're getting no's, there's a big problem there, and it's not your price, right?
And then,
it's not your price.
And it's kind of towards a Rock, Douglas, better known as Rock, but so God, I don't know when did Sam Kinison die? I don't even know if you're old enough to remember Sam Kinison.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was a comedian. I don't know, some of his stuff was funny, but he used to scream. His face would be red. But he had a bit about feeding all the homeless people in Africa, or not homeless, feeding all the people in Africa. And it was something. Oh, the whole bit was like, it's easy to feed them. Instead of sending over food, send over U-Hauls. Have them move. And he's screaming, move. It's the fucking desert. There's no food. There's never going to be any food. Move. Right. And I almost feel like telling that to some of the contractors. Is like, look, man, if you're in a desert and there's no work, move. Get the fucking move. Just, and it's like something. And I tell guys all the time, I'm dealing with a guy right now, kind of helping him out, but I show guys, I say, look, man, go to Google. How many times is someone even searching for your services, whether it's carpet cleaning, painting houses, remodeling kitchens, whatever? Google will tell you, look, that only in your area and where you're living, that only gets searched, 20 times every month versus somewhere in like I'm at, and it gets searched 20,000 times a month. Yeah, I'm going to be able to say no a lot more times than you are. All of that has to play a big part of it. It's just like the research that and it's, I know you see it in Boise because Boise is growing so freaking much, but here it's In and Out. Anytime you see an In and Out, within a matter of years, there's going to be the chicken place. What's the cows and the chickens? A Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A,
yeah. There's going to be a Chick-fil-A right across the street or somewhere next to it or something, because these restaurants have done all of the research in advance. So Chick-fil-A knows, McDonald's already done, or In-N-Out's already done all the research. They know this. They've got everybody. They know how much people are going to be driving past. They know this. Do they have the money to spend on it? All of that stuff. So Chick-fil-A moves in from the East Coast. They don't have to do all that research. They just look for where In-N-Out is, get as close as they can to In-N-Out, lease the land, put up the building, and they know the business is going to be there. So all of that research is already done. Businesses think like businesses. Contractors think like contractors, and they're not. They're just, hey, this is where I grew up. This is where I live. All right, then you're limited to what that area is going to be able to support. I'm watching some damn show on Netflix or something called Port something. They live in this little cubby hole up in Alaska. There's only like 20 people that live there. They all fish and hunt. You're living off of the grid and stuff, but you're not going to be doing a lot of hardwood floors in that area. So I could run as many fucking ads as I wanted. There's only 20 people that live there. I'm not going to, I'm not going to make the money. So it's all of that plays a part of it. It's like, but like you said, when you sit down and you write that business plan, what's the demographic? How many people live in this area? How much money are they bringing in? What's the rate of the homes? How much money are they spending on their homes? What's the turnaround? What's the turnover? How much are they selling? How much are they still built? All of that stuff has to be played into your business plan. Anything? What else before we go on?
Brian, I was actually just looking over Google Analytics with my partner from my marketing agency, and we were looking at click-through rates versus conversions, right, on Google. Mm-hmm. And so, like, for example, if there's 60,000 people, or let's say there's 420,000 people in the state of Idaho that actually are owner occupied in their own homes, right? Mm-hmm. And so the click-through rate on that is roughly 4 to 6% of 420 some odd thousand people, right? So that comes down to like 28,000 some odd people who are actually going to click your ad, right? And of that, 3 to 4% of those clicks are going to convert, which means that's like 560 people or something like that, right? And so that's kind of how you have to really see, those analytics.
That's the part of being a true business, as you're looking at all aspects of it. And do you need to expand out, or do you need to offer a different service? I mean, you should really be keeping track of especially for these smaller trades, whether it's painting, flooring, whatever that is. Like, that's a residual over the next 3, 5, 15 years, 20 years, like the database of people that you have and that you're always following up with at least once at least once a year. You should be, 3 to 4 times a year, sending them something, staying in touch, doing maintenance, whatever it is. I mean, it's just a whole separate business that you could end up having if you wanted, but it's just always, how many times are they coming back? How many times are they coming back over and over and over again? So, Hey, what were you going to say about licenses and insurance? Because that's kind of on the same thing of who we're dealing with, like the Home Depot parking lot contractor.
Well, and I'll kind of segue into that off of Brian's question here about fair deposits and so forth. I mean, ultimately, what he's asking for is like net 30s are different, that payouts than on commercial or federal projects. But I mean, if you're on those types of projects, especially if it's a federal project, you have to have, in order to even have that job, you have to have a certain amount of revenue on the books. You have to be producing X amount of revenue to even get those jobs. And so whether or not it's a net 90 or it's a federal job, I mean, you have to look at the job and say, okay, well, in order for me to cover, materials and payroll for 90 days, I have to know my numbers, which means I need to know exactly how much it's going to cost me to make it 90 days. And that's what my deposit has to be. And if your deposit isn't reasonable for the person or the general contractor that you're subbing, then you can't take the job.
Yeah,
you just can't. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, going back to licensing and licensing and insurance.
And I'm gonna have a different take on it than you. But go ahead.
As far as licensing and insurance,
yeah, a little bit.
So ultimately, so I think the catalyst of that was that other post in my group, right? So we're in 208 Contractors. If you're watching this and you're in Idaho, we have the largest construction industry Facebook group in the state. So it's 208 Contractors. You should join. There's a lot of great information, and there's a lot of amazing examples of how not to operate. But he came in and he was like, I'm just looking for the cheapest schmuck in a truck. I don't care if you're licensed or insured, right?
100%, and that's the way he worded it, pretty much.
Literally, it's like verbatim. And there was a couple other things he was asking for that was crazy off the wall. Didn't care about, anyways. And he said to me, he's like, "Well, it's just an econo it's just an econo house, like, isn't this a contractor group? He tried to get cute. He's like, what are we here just to play grab ass or what is this? Right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, ultimately, man, it's like, it's one thing, if you got somebody coming in to, swap out electrical plates or, run some carpet in a bedroom, but man, you're asking somebody to do a deck, right?
Yeah.
And it's attached to the house. It's up off the ground 4 feet. There has to be permits pulled. There has to be all this stuff. And it's just like, man, I got to tell you, Brian, because I went in there and I called you and I tagged you and I said, man, this comment section is hard to watch, bro. there was like hundreds, well, at least there's like 50 people and they're going, ooh, pick me. I'll be your schmuck.
It was
right.
I felt so bad.
And I was like, man, I made the comment. It's like, man, I almost deleted this, but I was like, no, let's see who wins this race to the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Right.
And
he got upset. He tried to get cute about it, but I still don't think that he realizes it's like, man, you're asking for illegal labor in a place that's dedicated professionalism. I still have a half a mind. Like, I still haven't completely decided not to go in there and ban the OP and then go through each and every one of those idiots who it's you know what? It's not even the OP that's more embarrassing than the contractors below it going, oh, pick me.
It's 100%.
It makes me want to go through all of them and boot them all out.
It's 100% the contractors going, I'll do it. Let me do it. Fuck me. Hey, fuck me. I'll fill it with gasoline.
All it takes is one guy getting in there, getting hurt, right? And all of a sudden, your econo house, your insurance isn't there to cover somebody getting hurt working on your house, right? I mean, you don't even know. It's like you hire some schmuck who's the cheapest guy in a truck, and he comes in and he builds it improperly, and it falls down when you get too many people on it. Now you're getting sued by those people. Or let's say he runs a nail through his toe as he's using a pneumatic nailer. And ultimately, he's coming after your homeowner's insurance at that point, right?
Yeah.
He's coming after you. And these people, they just don't get it, man.
Well, and I tell homeowners like all the time is because here in California, you got to be like licensed for everything. And to me, it's just a big ass ripoff. It's just because the state wants more money. They don't care if you know how to do the trade or not. They want you to memorize the questions so that you can, check the correct box, and then that's it. So if you're going to be in business, you have to do it legally. But as a homeowner, it's like, man, if this is who this guy is looking for, I don't know. It's like you shouldn't be in a position to where you would even do more than chuckle at it to work for it. Because, and I'm not prejudiced by no means, and I should be. I'm the Southern white guy, 58 years old, so I should be a white redneck. Prejudice is all hell. But I grew up in Inglewood. But I love everybody.
All your time in California.
Yeah, man. But I love everybody. But there's certain accents that I will not call back. I just don't want to deal with the Jew me down type thing. And I did a lot of work in Beverly Hills for the Persian Jews. When the Shah fell, they came over here with all of their millions of dollars and rugs worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I did some of the cheap ass work, and to where finally I'm almost arguing with the guy, and they brought me in as family, and we're eating dinner, and he's like, Brian, you taking it personal. He goes, dude, this is how we grow up, man. We grow up in the market. It's the way we go back and forth and bicker, and it has nothing. He goes, look at you. This is a $16 million house. It has nothing to do with the money. For us, it's a game. And that was another kind of click light that went on. So we either want to play that game and you go in with the super high price because you're gonna have to come down 20% or whatever it is, to where I just tell them, I was like, look, dude, no. I was like, here's what it is, blah blah blah. And I even when I even mentioned like the Shah and Iran and fallen and Persian Jews and India and stuff. India makes the guys from India with the accent and wanting the best deals. India people in this country are earning 30% more than anybody else because they're that fucking smart. And you're giving them breaks because it's a game to them, and you're not playing their money game. But you're in
it's part of their culture. It's part of their culture.
And for me as a kid, was taking it as an insult and all this other stuff. And luckily, I was open-minded enough to sit there and have dinner with these guys and be brought in and learn their culture and their history. And they are extremely proud, man, the Persians. but you shouldn't put yourself in a position business wise to where you even have to consider that, to even have a conversation with that type of homeowner. It's just, it kills me. And that's what was so sad about that post is, like you said, you're looking at 50, 60 contractors saying, please, please, please let me do that for you. Man, I'll be over there tomorrow morning with my hammer and a couple of 2x4s. And it's just, man, and I say that because I've been there, and you're so desperate for money. You're never, I mean, if you're doing it that cheap, how in the fuck are you going to be able to save and become this fat cash happy company that I'm talking about that you should be? How are you going to be able to save up all the cash and have on hand so that you can take the 90-day payroll jobs and federal jobs? And do you even want those jobs? To me, I'm always looking at what's bringing in the most amount of profit for the least amount of effort. And that's what I'm trying to be, to become the best at. And that's how I structured it. That's why I ask other guys to really look at. But so the whole license and insurance you got to cover your ass, man. You got to cover your ass.
I remember when to kind of touch back on Brian's question, like, how did you guys start? Like, I remember starting out thinking, well, I got legitimate as a business. I had insurance. I had all that stuff. I had the license, and I had this and I had that. And, basically I had overhead, and I thought, I'll just go out and I'll charge $25 time and labor or time and materials to do this work. And it wasn't very long before I realized that was actually putting me in a hole financially. Right. So, I mean, if I wanted to break even, and I wanted to make $25 an hour, if my business wanted to break even, I had to take all of my overhead, which essentially is roughly 40%. I mean, you pay a guy $25 an hour to work for 8 hours a day, you're actually paying $34 an hour after all the overhead just on his labor.
Yeah.
Right? That's $272 a day, $1,360 a week just to break even, if he doesn't make a mistake that you have to pay to fix.
Yeah. Right? And that ain't happening. Those are going to happen. That's just a part of it. Not everything's going to go perfect. An ASC
certified technician, you take your car to get worked on, an ASC certified technician, they're $110 an hour. Right?
Yeah.
You're a skilled tradesman. The only difference between you and a surgeon, right, is that the surgeon operates on the client while they're asleep. You're a contractor. You're operating on your patient while they're awake. You're worth at least 80, right?
At least. I mean, come on, at least. No. And in so many of these groups, I see contractors arguing and debating with other contractors that they're charging too much. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What do you mean? How can someone charge too much?
It's this game of my life sucks worse than yours.
All right, man. Let's change the subject. Ron DeSantis did his big Google thing, or Google. He did the Twitter release with they had the open forum and all that stuff, announced that he's running, and now he's coming after Trump, and I guess you're supposed to, but I don't know. For what he did for Florida, throughout the pandemic, I love almost everything that he did. He was open, and states that were being shut down and closed, those governors and those senators from those states were going to vacation in Florida because Florida was open and no mask and no all this other shit, and then running back to their little scared state where they had everything shut down. So record wise, I love everything that he's pretty much done so far. What do you think? I don't think he has a chance of winning. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the only thing I don't really follow politics too closely, but there's two things that I've heard that I've kind of paid attention to about Ron DeSantis over the past couple of weeks. And the first one is that it's obvious that, it's almost like it pretty much knocks the whole GOP out of the election that he's running against Trump. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but the other thing too is that the other thing that I heard was that he, is either passing or did pass a ban on the CBDCs in Florida.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really understand, the intricacies of that, but I would say that, I mean, ultimately, I think that I don't know how you're going to stop that, right? Because the whole global economy is going over to a digital currency.
Yeah, well, he is,
platform.
and he's for Bitcoin, so he didn't want to
Yeah.
put any kind of limitations on it. It's open. He wants a limited amount of government, so he says. I mean, he says all the right things, pretty much.
Well, if he's for Bitcoin, then he should allow the CBDCs to go through.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
know?
I'm not sure if he did or not, but I just know that they've asked him, and he's all for digital currency and Bitcoin, and the government not being able to regulate it. I have to pull up the article and send it to you, but man, it's all about communication. Is if you've seen that movie with the Gladiator, what's his name? Russell Crowe, right? Russell Crowe. Yeah, but and he's the slave, and the guy who owns him or whatever is telling him is like, if you win over the crowd, you're going to win. And that's pretty much what he did. It's like everybody loved, him, the Gladiator. It's like everybody's chanting his names. They're doing this, and even in like Draco, like Rocky 5, I think it was, when he goes to Russia and fights the big Russian dude, and Rocky at the end of it, the crowd is cheering Rocky. Yeah. Like, so he wins over the crowd. So you've got to win the crowd. And right now, personality wise, Ron isn't doing it. He's just too robotic. He's more of a robot trying to be human, and he doesn't want to. He's too correct at everything he says to where it just doesn't work. Like and we trained speakers for years. When I worked with Les Brown in early 2000, and that was the whole thing, is you couldn't get up there and try to memorize a speech word for word and then cite it like that, because you build no kind of connection with the audience. And it's, I've said it a billion times, so I hate saying it anymore, but it's like the whole thing is like, no one cares, what you know until they know how much you care. You have to build that rapport with them first. And that's what the whole websites that we build, and the marketing that we do, the videos that we do, it's all about building rapport and a relationship with people. So that by the time they do call you, they're like, oh my God, I know you, man. You're the dude that did this. And they feel like you're already friends. They're hiring friends because they've seen your videos so much. It wasn't by fucking accident. People think, oh man, you figured this out. I'm like, no, bitch, I've lived it for a long fucking time. There is no fucking accidents. But that's Ron's problem right now, is he's got to get out of this robotic mood that he's in and start relating to people. And he's done it a couple of times. When he gets pissed, he'll go off script and he'll start saying what he really means. But
well, the thing about it is too, it's like, so the CBDCs are going to bring regulation to the crypto market, right? And so that's ultimately what is going to be needed for major institutions to come back to that marketplace. For example, like Brian here is saying, he wants gold backing again. And that's a popular talking point. But the truth is, like, as a society, like, the percentage of people who understand cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular is so small. We are literally in the stages of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and I make a big distinction between the two because they're not the same. We're in this phase right now where, I don't know if you remember back in the .com days where everyone's like, oh, the internet's going to be a fad. The internet's it's never going to go anywhere. It's going to be a fad, right? But we'll look at where you're at now. Like, you couldn't even operate without the internet. Yeah. And what has the internet created? I'll tell you, the biggest thing the internet has created, it has caused the efficiency of all these marketplaces to grow at an exponential rate, where we have created the ability to provide services and products to people left and right around the globe. The problem with this is that the business is moving faster than the money, and that's the liquidity problem that Bitcoin and CBDCs solve. Right. So ultimately, the gold is so heavily, it's manipulated by the industry and the government. I mean, gold is, what is it, like 2,500 an ounce right now? Yeah, something like that. It should be like 10,000, but it's not, because it's so heavily manipulated. Right. And so here we are, we've got these dollars that are designed to go down in value, and everybody wants it backed by a commodity that's heavily manipulated and completely undervalued, when you have this ability to solve the liquidity issue around the globe. That is, it's happening. Whether we like it or not, folks, we are moving out of an era financially and economically into the new world, which is blockchain technology.
Well, Google and research the history of diamonds. Diamonds have no fucking value.
Yeah.
Diamonds is a girl's best friend. The only reason diamonds have any value is the marketing that they did in the early 1920s. There's not a shortage of them. There's not any of that. It's like you said, it's all manipulated. It's all like diamonds. They're hard and all of that stuff, but they're so plentiful that there's no scarcity in it. It was all a big freaking marketing ploy that worked and continues to work today. And now that whole thing, girl, diamonds is a girl's best friend. And if you're going to buy a diamond engagement, I don't know who the fuck came up with it. Should be what you earn in 3 months. That's how much you should spend on her diamond. And it's all of it. It's just mind manipulation that people buy into without even realizing the history or where it comes from or why or any of that.
Sure.
That
all just, coming back to, Ron DeSantis. And I don't get me wrong. I pay attention to what's going on in politics, just like the other guy does. But at the end of the day, I know that the government doesn't run shit. They run nothing. The banks run everything.
Yeah.
And if you really want to know, who controls you, then just pay attention to who you're not allowed to criticize.
Yeah. So I think I tweeted that or stole it from Elon and tweeted it again. Hey, I want to finish up with man the fuck up and bring back bullies. And I said it because I guess a Facebook friend of mine. And look, and if someone is a friend on my Facebook, it's because they reached out to me and I looked at their page and for whatever reason said, okay.
Right.
But with that, if I'm seeing shit that you're posting, I'm going to respond. And sometimes I'll respond nicely. Sometimes if I'm sitting here watching you cry about life and all your friends are like, oh yeah, man, this and that. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. So delete me because I'm going to tell you the truth. And the truth is, man the fuck up and stop worrying about what people think about you, what you're doing, like what people are saying to you, like all of this stuff is like, we've gotten away from this whole, like the whole trophy mentality is like, no one's being forced through anything anymore. The only way you grow is through challenges. It's going through, it's like we talked about earlier. It's like, man, it's like the only reason I have a business today that's somewhat successful, one that I was able to sell several times, is because I went through all this fucking bullshit. And each time I went through it and didn't quit, and I quit and go back and get another job till I couldn't take it anymore. And then I tried again with my battle scars and wounds. And each time I would get a little bit further. But there's so much at the top because no one's getting to the fucking top. It's so easy to be successful in construction because so many of us are fucked up individuals. We can't show up on time. We don't know the numbers. We're doing this. We're doing that. We don't follow through. We don't hire. They're all trying to do the work because they're the best one in the trade. Nobody else can do it but them. And it's like there's no reason for you not to get a business in construction and just blow it the fuck up if you do all the simple things. But this whole mentality of give everybody a trophy, don't hurt their feelings, keep the bullies at bay. It's like, no, man, people need to talk shit to you at school so you can learn how to fucking deal with it in the real world, because in the real world, people are going to talk shit to you. And there's no way fucking around it. It's just man the fuck up and do what you're supposed to do. It's just, oh my God, all these motherfuckers that are okay with people being fat, I don't get it. I had a dude right now send me 8 fucking dozen donuts of Krispy Kremes. Not at once, sent me the coupons so I can go whenever I want. But I'm giving them away. I love Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm from North Carolina. Krispy Kreme donuts are from North Carolina. But I can't eat them. once every now and then. But no, man, it's like, you need to take care of yourself personally, and that's where it fucking starts. There's only 3 things you have 100% total control over: what you put in your body, what you do with your body, and the thoughts that you dwell on. And you're fucking that up. You're fucking it up, and you're and you're buying into this bullshit that you have a problem or you're this or a thyroid. It's like I tell people all the time. I was like, no, man, you don't got no goddamn fucking thyroid problem that you can't lose weight. I said, do the Naked and Afraid diet. What's the Naked and Afraid diet? I said, I don't know. Go watch a couple of episodes of Naked and Afraid. They're somewhere they're somewhere for 21 days and they ain't eating and they're losing a whole lot of fucking weight in 21 days. I don't care if they had a thyroid problem or not. If they're not eating, they're fucking losing weight. And if they eat the healthy stuff and just a small amount of it, they're going to lose the right kind of weight. And if they're working out, they're going to be building. I mean, it's not fucking rocket science, but we buy into this bullshit. And now it's gotten to where it's okay, almost expected that you be 100 pounds overweight. And there's no fucking way. I'm going up to Washington State next week, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And one of the things I will teach will be about Bushido. Bushido came over from India, travels over like, and he's almost like Persian, the prince and a great warrior. And he's Buddhist and looking to be enlightened. So he travels over, wants to meet these Chinese monks and reach enlightenment. And he gets there and all these monks are sitting around fat as all fucking can be because they're doing legs crossed, eating and not moving. And he knows there's no way to reach enlightenment being overweight. You just cannot. You will not. No, you will not ever fucking reach your full potential being overweight. You can't. It's fucking physically impossible. You're not going to be firing on all cylinders. Man, when you're, and you don't have to be the best of the best of the best of in shape because that differs for whatever it is that you're doing. If you're running these 100-mile marathons, you're not going to be the ripped up bodybuilder doing competitions. None of that. Right. I mean, so in swimming and whatever it is that you do, but you've got to be at your peak performance, whatever it is. You've got to be able to move and the way that you breathe and the way that your brain operates on oxygen. The reason I can choke you out within 6 to 8 seconds and the reason you lose when we're grappling on the ground is because you don't know how to breathe and control your breathing. You're not getting the oxygen to the brain. So you're not able to, it's being on the ground is like moving chess. It's like playing chess and I'm moving 6 to 10 chess players in front of you and you can't think fast enough to figure out what the fuck I'm doing because you're hyperventilating because you can't catch your breath because you're out of fucking shape. That's in every area of fucking life. When you answer the phone, when you meet the homeowner at the job site, when you're talking to your employees and you don't have the confidence and your body's all sagging down and your face dripping because you're over all of that shit. I'm telling you, Brian, you're picking on fat people. Yes, I'm picking on fat people because one, I'm kind of fucking what they call it, sour grapes. I'm jealous because I cannot allow myself to get like that. I would not allow myself to get like that. My entire life is dedicated to what I can leave to mankind when I'm gone. My mission statement in life has always been to humbly touch and enhance as many lives as I can while I'm here so that when I'm gone, those lives will continue to touch and enhance the lives of others. I got to live what I preach. I don't listen to fat preachers. I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't listen to fat fucking doctors. I don't listen to fat motivational speakers. How the fuck are you going to give me some kind of personal development lesson and you can't even control what you put in your body or what you do with your body? But no one wants to be told that shit. Everybody's afraid of being insulted or being hurting someone's feelings. And I'm telling you, you are doing no one any favors by not telling them the truth. My friend and mentor, Jim Rohn used to say, man, I'll take care of you if you take care of me. And he figured out real quick how shallow and short-ended that was to where he ended up saying, I'll take care of me for you if you will take care of you for me. And that makes sense. And that makes sense. And that's my little rant before we get out of here tonight. Anything you want to add?
So, yeah, I would just say to that, man the fuck up. Right. So ultimately problems are a sign of life. Like Les Brown always say, problems are a sign of life. Right. So if you're having problems, that means that, you're alive because there's like 5,000 people down the road from me who don't have a problem in the world and they're buried 6 feet deep. So if you're having a problem and you're stressing about it, you might ask your doctor if Triactin is right for you. You might say, well, what the fuck is Triactin? Well, motherfucker, that's Triactin like a goddamn man.
Exactly. Take 2 Triactins and call me in the morning. It's like because you're either in something, you going towards something, or you just came out of something. But everybody is in it, and we're all telling ourselves these fucking stories, and we're buying into our own stories. There's not probably my favorite martial artist It's pretty fucking close. Top 3 anyway is Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal's main, and I've worked out with him. I met him years ago after Above the Law. His biggest fucking problem in life is he bought into his own bullshit. He started believing his own press releases. And now he's like crazy overweight. And I mean, and I don't know, maybe I would have done the same thing I did. When you surround yourself with all the yes people, no one's ever telling you no. No one's ever calling you on your bullshit. You've got more money than you can spend. I may end up the same fucking way. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm just saying I know him way before he got the way he is right now. And he was a pretty good dude. And he did a lot of shit at the age of 18, 19, 25 that no one else has ever done. I got a much better story about Steven than I do Bruce Lee. So we'll save that for a different podcast. But sure. Yes, sir, Aikido. And so he bought into his own bullshit. And I did this little thing Friday because I play golf every Friday. So I did a Facebook Live. It's because I tell you, man, I've been trying to work out. I got this new gym set. And I woke up and my back kidney was a little sore or something. I was trying to stretch it out. Man, can I swing, make a full turn on it? And when I showed up, I was getting out of the truck and my buddies were pulling up and they was like, "Oh man, how you feeling today, Brian?" And I started to say, "Damn, man, my back is tired. I'm having to get up early." And those guys don't want to fucking hear it. And I was joking with them going, "Man, if you make it to 58, you're going to know what it's like getting up. You got to get up early just to stretch out a little bit more and do all this." Because these dudes are like 77, 78 already. So they don't hear that shit. They're like, I don't get to come to them with stupid ass excuses. They just laugh at me. And I'm telling you, so the Facebook Live is like surround yourself with people who call you on your bullshit and don't join your pity party, because that's all it fucking is everybody's going through something. I get to tell the story. Oh, my dad was never around. My mom was an music alcoholic. We grew up in the project. Everybody's got a fucking story. Everybody. Yours ain't special. Yours is just fucking different. Yeah. and the only problem is you telling yourself that story over and over and over again, reliving it instead of learning from it. And I wouldn't change all of the bullshit that I've been through. I wouldn't change any of it, because it's like that movie Butterfly Effect, where he keeps going back in time trying to fix shit, and he comes back and everything's fucked up even more worse. So if I could go back in time and change some of the bad shit that I went through, I'd come back to where it is now and everything would probably be pretty fucked up. I don't know. I just know that I'm pretty fucking happy where I'm at right now. And I tell people all the time, and it's like, if you're looking in the mirror every morning and something's bothering you, that something is you. You're going through some shit and you ain't learning from it. So you like figure it the fuck out. Because if not, you're just going to keep going through it. And it's all that bullshit that you've been through that's going to make you the man that you are. And we need more fucking men. We need more men to stand up. We need more men to start calling people out on their bullshit. So these little boys that are growing up now, they don't have any father figures. And I don't know, maybe the father is at home. He just ain't no fucking figure. I don't know what's going on. I just know that, we're trying to dumb people down and it's fucking working. It's crazy. Yeah. They're just pussifying everybody. When I was 17 doing construction, these dudes were like 76, 77. Man, they fought in World War II. They were tough as fucking nails. Man, they talked to me like matter of fact, if they were still alive, I could probably sue them right now. It doesn't matter how much time is the way that they talk to me and how many times I got called faggot and retard and pussy and throw hammers and shit at me. Boy, you move faster than that. I mean, it's like, but you sucked it up, man. And they meant it from the heart, because they loved me. As a person, as an individual, as a boy wanting to become a man, and they wanted me to be the best that I could be, and they weren't going to buy into all of that bullshit. It was like, no, man, man the fuck up, do what you're supposed to do, suck it up, be better than what you think you can be.
When I was coming up, it was like, if you fall off the roof, you're fired before you hit the ground, and don't worry about it, because it only hurts once.
Yeah, that's it, man. And nobody wants to say that anymore. It's like, I don't know, just man. So I don't know anything before we get out of here.
Nah, man, I'm good, dude. It's always a pleasure talking with you, Brian.
All right, guys. No matter where you're watching this, reach out to us. We'll answer any of your questions.
You know what? Actually, yeah, man. If you're watching this, you should definitely check us out in 208 Contractors. If you got some input,
100%.
Yeah. So
208 Contractors.
Yep. Biggest contractor and construction industry related Facebook group in the state of Idaho. And there's
And
lots of good stuff in there.
Idaho is still growing. It's mind-boggling. So I would tell you, you don't have to move. They're coming to you.
Yeah.
They're all coming to you with money. They're bringing this California money and running to Idaho. And goddamn, the Idaho prices are just going skyrocketing quick.
Yeah, that's why everyone hates it here. So.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we're gonna do it again next week. I guess we're gonna find out and get a name for this podcast and let us know what you guys want us to touch on. I want to touch on a little bit of everything, but I really want to touch on manning the fuck up for sure. A little bit of politics, a little bit of what's going on in the news and how they're trying to keep it from you. And it's easy to keep it from you because you're just trying to make ends meet. You don't have time to read the shit that I'm reading, listen to the shit that I'm listening to. You're just trying to get the job finished so you can hopefully get a check and have some profit at the end of that to pay the bills and keep the lights on and figure out how to maybe eventually grow your business. I appreciate Anthony because he's figured it out. He's still figuring it out. He's in the middle of it. He's in the trenches. He's doing it every day. He probably didn't have any problems last week. That'll be different next week.
I got problems. It's just, I got people to help me solve them. That's the key.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Appreciate it.
Peace, Brian. See you guys later.